3 hours, 5 minutes and 51 seconds.
Now, it doesn't take a genius to spot that that is not a sub 3. On the 21st of September at the Berlin Marathon, I attempted a sub 3 hour marathon and failed. But why? Let me take you through what mistakes I made, what it taught me, and what you can do differently. Next time this happens, if I go out in September 2025 for the Berlin Marathon and it's too hot, weather's not right, I'm going to adjust accordingly. I'm not going to go out all guns blazing. Yes, that was me 6 months ago. Did I take my own advice? No. But that's because that advice wouldn't have actually got me a sub 3 hour marathon. If you don't average under 4:16 per kilometre, you just won't get a sub 3 hour marathon. But what if the weather is too hot on the day? Well, that's just something you can't control. However, there are things you can do to mitigate it. In that same video that I discussed 6 months ago, you can heat train. Put simply, this not only improves your ability to perform in the heat, but also just to perform in general. Only downside is you have to get used to being very hot, very sweaty, and maybe a little bit uncomfortable on all your training runs. Now, you can book your races in winter or maybe late autumn, which is going to hopefully ensure you get cooler temperatures, but then you might of course get too cold, or you might get snow or rain, or maybe even a lot of wind. You need to balance these out, and ultimately you're not going to get that PB and you're not going to perform at your ultimate best when the weather's just not right. Which leads me on to my second point. I trained to run just under 4:15 minutes per kilometre. That had given me around a 20-second buffer by halfway. That's not much leeway at all. To be sure of hitting your goal, you need to be outperforming your target pace in your training. So for me, that would have looked at maybe a 4:10 on my long runs with race practice pace in. That way, when the inclement conditions invariably happen, you can adjust your pace a tiny bit, but still be under your target. But this won't always be realistic. If you're training at the absolute limit, you just can't eke out another couple of seconds per kilometre. Now, my final point is a little bit controversial. I don't think majors are for PBs. Don't get me wrong. I think they're incredible races, and the London Marathon was still and probably will always be my favourite ever race. But when you're running exactly the same course as 50,000 or more than 50,000 other people, having to dodge and duck and dive around all those other people, you're just not going to be able to take the ideal line. People are going to be getting in your way, slowing you down, and ultimately stopping you from getting into your rhythm. Doing a local race with less than 5,000, maybe even less than 1,000 people, you're more likely to be able to get into your rhythm, although there are, of course, associated issues with doing smaller races. As I mentioned in previous videos, the energy you get from a crowd at these big events is incredible. And for some people, that might be worth the trade-off.
You got it, Jack! Keep going!
The long and short of it is, to get a PB in the marathon distance, you need everything to align. You need to be able to get into your zone and not have too many people blocking you, but of course you need the crowd to support you. You need the weather to be just right, not too hot and not too cold. And you need to be able to train at a pace that is going to give you a buffer should things not quite work out. You're unlikely to get this, and it's taken me 3 marathons to learn that. And I think that's where my final tip comes in. Always have a B race. Always have a backup that if your A race doesn't go perfectly on, you have a second shot at the goal. Sure, there's always the chance that things won't go well in that race too. It's still another marathon, it's still another race, but it's better than putting all your eggs in one basket. So, with that in mind, I'm about to start training for my next marathon in 4 weeks' time. The Dresden Marathon on the 26th of October. Do I have enough time to recover, retrain and retaper all over again? Well, we'll see. Let me know if you have any top tips in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe so you can follow along as we continue to race to sub 3. Right, fellas, it's time to get training.